every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
My message to any dad, man, first off, know that, yeah, it is a hard job, but it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything you're doing from here on out, if it didn't have purpose before, now it has purpose. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Just be a dad.
Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color and fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And this is the season finale. I want this to go more, but I think keeping it for great conversations on the impact of AI. I think it's powerful. I think you need to listen to 1 and 3. 4, we're going to wrap it into a nice little bow, and we're going to talk about how regulation would look like when it comes to AI. And I have my special, awesome guest that's been with me this journey of understanding AI, how it impacts us all, how it's going to look in the future. I have the one and only, the talented Mrs. and Mr. Jackson. Thank you for coming on.
We appreciate this opportunity again to talk about such an immeasurably powerful tool as AI that's still growing. And it's almost like, you start to build a model together and you see it growing and growing, but then you see, oh, I can add this part to it. I can add that part to it. I can make it talk to me. I can make it walk. So, all these elements are really interesting in seeing the final product, or maybe not the final product, but the next iteration coming. Yeah.
Definitely not the final product. We can see that already, right?
Definitely. You want to add more, Miss Jackson?
No, just we're honored that you would consider hearing our opinions on this. I am grateful that we have been considered thought leaders in this area, and there's a lot to cover. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to AI, and I'm so grateful that that is not a noun addressing the topics people don't want to talk about. Everybody wants to be like, oh, it's so great, it's so wonderful. Yes, but so we appreciate that.
In every children's story, there's always a cautionary tale, and this is what we're doing with this conversation, is having this cautionary tale. Before we get into this, I'm going to ask you this question. Whoever want to go first can go first. How's your heart at this moment?
You go first.
Well, my heart is great. I'm feeling grateful. It's full of gratitude. It's actually, in spite of all the things that we see, it's full of optimism for our future.
And I share that same sentiment as well. And the optimism comes in too, and sometimes we don't recognize it, the people that we're with, that we share the same passion, and which is self-communicating back and forth, even when we're not on air, through text and links and stuff, which is great, because we get to look at a different perspective and communicate with you being in New York and us being in Florida. Sometimes people miss that, understand that there is like a 8, 12-hour, 13-hour difference driving, or a 4 to 5 hour distance flying. So this technology can be beneficial, right, but again, managing it and working with and using it as a tool.
And if I could just add really quickly, part of that optimism too is also just like what William was saying, but also it's because we're having these conversations, right? And I believe wholeheartedly, I have a saying, if there's one, there's two, if there's two, there's three. So if the three of us are having a conversation, then there's others that are having the same conversation. And we're seeing young people kind of pushing back against this technology. And saying, you know what, we need more time together. We need more one-on-one together. We need to turn this off. You're seeing this more and more in our youth. And that is the part that gives me a lot of optimism too.
Yeah. And taking into consideration, obviously we have a woman's perspective too. Rarely do you have a perspective from a woman not related to business per se, because a lot of the conversations are, oh, you can make a lot of money, or you can be an executive, but the down to earth everyday conversation that we're having um, touches the hearts and minds of people that get up every morning, work with their kids, send their kids off to school, go to work, do their jobs in different areas. But it's that common sense conversation that we're having from our experiences, what we're learning, and our different backgrounds, and also being people of color. You don't usually hear people of color, as such as us and our different backgrounds, talking about AI in any kind of way other than, oh yeah, it's in a video game. Oh yeah, it's in my car. But now we're having conversations about real people, real situations, and real things going on.
And you can make a lot of money from
And yeah, you can't make a lot.
You can. You definitely
it. You
can.
can.
You can't.
But also talking about like real world consequences with this
Right.
technology.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to bring up something because again, this episode is about regulation and how they would look like. And
Hmm.
California is the first state to implement something like that.
Hmm.
It's California Senate Bill 53, also known as the Transparency in Frontier Artificial Intelligence Act, which is
Mhm.
TFAIA. This is a landmark regulated advanced AI model signed by Newsom recently. And
Hmm.
California is the first state to law impose safety and disclosure
Mhm.
requirements on major developers of frontier AI models. The law will take effect next year, January 1st of
Mhm.
next year. And I think the key word is frontier,
Right.
because with this new technology, there's some risk to it. And so,
Right.
when I want to bring up from the targeted key points from this recent bill that was passed, because again, um, everyone looks at California and see what they're doing because uh,
Right.
when it comes to economics, California is the economic hub of the United States.
Right.
To let people understand, when it comes to revenue and money coming into the country,
Mhm.
California makes up 13% of
Mhm.
the money that
Right.
goes to the federal government, and um, that's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
it
lot.
That's
is.
a lot.
It
So,
is.
It is a
so
lot.
and so the key components of this bill or this law that just passed is the safety framework. Large frontier developers, those with over 500 million in annual revenue, must publish an accessible framework of detailing their methods of managing and mitigating catastrophic risks.
Mhm.
Catastrophic risk assessment before deployment or development must assess and summarize the potential for catastrophic risk defined as event causing death or serious injury to over 50 people or more than 1 billion in damage.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is incident report. Developers must report critical safety incidents to the California Office of Manager Emergency Services within 15 days of discovery or within 24 hours if the incident poses an imminent risk of death
Mhm.
or serious injury. One of the key things I think is interesting about this is the whistleblower protection. The law protects employees who report concerns about catastrophic risks or violation from retaliation, and
Mhm.
requires companies to provide anonymous internal reporting channel. Um,
Right.
the last one is the public computing cluster. SB 53 directs the creation of Classroom Designs Cloud Compute, a state backed up public cloud computing clusters to support a safe and ethical
Okay.
AI innovation. So that's a
Mhm.
little bit of the framework behind that bill. So what are your guys
Right.
of SB 53?
Mhm. Mhm.
Sure. Um, so I think what California is doing is fantastic. And when you listen to what they're saying, catastrophic risk is 50 people or more. That is a low number for most of the time when we talk about anything to that scale. But when we talk about what's happened already with AI,
Right.
we've had many people who have done things to self-harm. They have put themselves in mental harm. Some people have unfortunately unalived themselves using AI, and they have listened to the suggestions of AI. I think it's wonderful that they're saying that if it's beyond a certain number, that's catastrophic. That is something that we need to be aware of. That is something that you need to assess that before you put it out there, that there is potential for this. This is a possibility. Because if you understand what has been happening with AI in general, we're talking AI has only been around the way we know it. Now, it's been around for many, many years, right? We already know
Mhm.
that. We talked about the fact that, the ELIZA effect has been around since 1966. This is something that they noted from chatbots from way back then. So we know that. But even in the time that the public now has been using AI in the manner that we've been using it, look at how much has changed.
Right.
Look at how quickly it has changed. How many times we're at ChatGPT 5 now because they have to keep changing the protocol because it keeps changing. So I think that's fantastic on the part of California.
And before
And
you add something too, I want to add a little bit too. It's like the penalties. The Attorney General can bring civil action against large frontier developers for violation with the penalty up to $1 million per
Mhm.
violation. The
mhm,
law also includes a process for the California Department of Technology to annually recommend updates to keep the definition and the requirement current to the
Mm,
overall of the evolving AI technology.
right.
mm,
That's good. That's good. And the reason that's good because in the past, if there are different technologies being used, but there's no policies to regulate upgrades, because it's like how many of us have been caught with our browser making us upgrade, but then you're not knowing what's going on in the back end of your browser, like recording you or monitoring you, and you don't know that until you accidentally run across something. It's like, well,
mm,
where is that? What is that doing, and why is that sending data to such and such? So this way, there are guarantees of monitoring the updated version of AI, the forward thinking and forward use of AI. And I think one of the dangers is if we think about it, many of us when we start using different technologies, we forget the time where we were just learning about that technology before we really started using it. And it's like you all of a sudden realize, well, I've been using this for a couple of years, but what do I really know about the history of the application or the program? And like you were saying, when we first started talking about this, and what Aida was saying, back in 1960s, you know, you had only a few people in the world that were working on it. Now we're looking at, corporations or have pumped billions of dollars and making billions of dollars or $1 million in these technologies to do what?
Yep.
Okay, provide tools and services, but still they're into this great quest to build these powerful tools, machine language learning, and there's not necessarily, I would say, an end game, but the reality of it's here now, what's going on with it. We joke around with, the Terminator and, all that technology with the chips and that kind of stuff. But still, what is the reality of what we're ultimately going to achieve? And reflecting back on, and I'll do this from time to time, Aida laughs at me about it. When we look at Star Trek and we look at Data started out as a robot
Yep.
just doing his job. Then all of a sudden, people started talking about, well, do you feel this? And how do you feel? And what do you feel about this? And then he was like, well, maybe I do need feelings, and maybe I do need to feel how you feel. And but then when that process started happening, there were all kind of glitches and stuff going on. So now we're at the age now in reality where people are pre-assuming that it's good for AI to have feelings, even though it has hallucinations or lying. So we're going down this path of now California is passing these laws to protect its citizens. And the good thing, like you were saying, their laws are upgradable,
Right.
to upgrade the technology. So it's good to see laws like now. We don't know if other states are going to follow, but like you were saying, California is usually the one that starts this process,
Yeah.
and others will follow because of what has happened with people being coerced or inspired or motivated to do bodily harm to each other. It's to that point.
I mean, it's also key that Silicon Valley is in California.
Mhm.
And so these tech giants are right there.
Yeah.
And they're holding them to task. And they're saying you need to be transparent and you need to be open about what is this that you're putting out into the world, because it isn't just OpenAI that's putting out an AI. We've got Google is putting out AI, Meta is putting out AI. I mean, we have really big companies that have their own version of their own AI that they're putting out there. So I think it's great that they're saying it's time that we
Right.
put some checks and balances in place.
Right. And the one thing I worry about this too is what about those startup small companies? Um, you have those frontier, because again they're talking about the frontier, the big
Right.
boys. But what about the other ones that they create this technology,
Mhm.
and then you have the big ones dumping money into them,
Mhm.
because eventually they want to buy up that technology. Like,
Right.
where is that um, transparency with those startup companies?
Right.
I think with this bill, I think it should go across the board. You have to have, because if you're like one of those startup companies, you don't have to have any kind of transparency of what you're doing and how
Right.
it affects people. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's important too. And then also, I do believe now it puts company in the places that, hey, we need to see what you're doing. We need to see what particular harm you're doing,
Right.
because the shareholders are the tax payers. And a lot
Right.
of stuff that we were talking about earlier is a lot of stuff that a lot of these tech companies are benefiting and making a lot of money is those subsidies
Mhm.
on the behalf of the taxpayers.
Right.
And so it's they're obliged to open their books to see, all right, what are you doing?
What are you
Right.
How are
doing?
you impacting people? People need to know, just like that push um, to see when it comes to our food, to see like what are behind like the stuff that make our food. Like
Right.
it was a
Right.
push for like a long time to actually have that, so people will know, all right, at least
Mhm.
that's not good for me and I don't want it. And I think
Right.
this is important in AI.
Right.
So I think that it's important that we do look at all of the companies that are involved in this, but then, we can also get into the weeds, right? So OpenAI, if you have the professional version, you can make your own GPT. So, how far deep do we go? Do we go to each individual that's creating their own GPT using the main chat GPT? That's also, I think that what they're doing is really saying, okay, let's go after the big fish first. Let's go after the ones that are going to create the most impact. Meta in 2020, before 2020, I remember doing a presentation at a conference. And, I was saying at the time, that was pre-pandemic, um, you know, Meta before it became Meta was Facebook, and Facebook was getting a billion people a day coming onto Facebook.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a number we can't fathom,
Yep.
right? It's a number we can't fathom. When that, and, and people hear a billion people a day, and it's like, oh, the whole world. No, there's 7 billion people in the world. Guess what? They want all 7 billion of them to come up on Facebook every day. So, and that was back then. That was 2019, pre-pandemic. So, what are the numbers now? So, what I think that they're trying to do is saying, let's go after the big fish. Google is a worldwide company. Meta is a worldwide company. What they do can affect people around the globe.
Right.
So let's start there.
And one of the things to look out for too is like I'll use Amazon as an example, and it might apply to Facebook and now Meta. The smaller companies that they absorb into them
Mhm.
to help them to be bigger,
Mhm.
the size that they are now, maybe let's say I'll go back like 10 years. Between 10 years ago and now, how many companies has Amazon or Facebook or Meta absorbed into their existing companies? But then when they do that, they take that data from that company and they can claim it as theirs. So there you may have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million subscribers or users. Now you have access to that new data. Well, if you apply it to some existing AI to build that base of information and data, you're adding to that without even people knowing it. Now, in some cases, depending on the company, they will send you an email or a traditional snail mail letter in the mail, like we've updated our, database or we've updated our policies. But how many of us truthfully, like y'all was you and I were talking about last week, how many people actually read that information to understand it?
Right.
Not too many. They
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, thank you for letting me know, and it goes in the
They're like, I
recycling bin.
agree.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you get this
Whatever you
email.
say.
Yeah, okay, you've updated, good. I
Mhm.
guess that means it's safer, but where did that data come from, that information that AI is using? I do commend Governor Newsom, right?
Mhm.
Excuse me, in California, and not just himself, but the people that help research and create, this legislation because they are looking at what has happened and looking forward to the future, and not forward to, but into the future of what potentially could happen, further damage that could happen, but then also the potential benefits, because we haven't even talked about the schools
Mhm.
that are trying to develop AIs for individual schools, kind of like book companies.
Yeah.
So instead of a book company saying, okay, we have all these books that we published and we can sell you, now companies are looking at how they can sell AI to school districts. So you have hundreds of thousands of kids that, now I don't think any school system in the United States is actually using an AI program to teach their kids, but that's the potential for the future of individual lesson plans, individually recognizing kids that have IEPs or in special education programs.
Mhm.
This AI bot can teach your student who has reading deficiencies better than a regular teacher, or it can address all their learning needs. But still, that's that accumulated data from that student and their families, because you have to give permission to get that data to be used by AI. And hopefully, as this grows, California and some other states can set the policies and procedures to protect student data and family data. Because once it's out there, as we've seen, nothing's protected really.
Yeah.
How many times a week do we get messages or hear on the news, oh, there's been this data breach and there's that data breach, or you get a letter in the mail where your data has been compromised.
Mhm.
So, but yeah.
But I do believe that California has a second bill that's going to address the youth as well, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's SB 243. This bill would regulate AI companion chatbot in order to protect minors and vulnerable users.
mhm.
Passed, passed both by Senate Assembly and the Senate with bipartisan support, and now it has to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. He has until October 12th to sign it, and this would also take effect next year, January 1st. So California would be the first state to require AI chat bot operators to implement a safety protocol for AI companion and hold companies illegal accountable if the
Mhm.
chatbot fails to meet those standards. And then I'll give you a little bit more about it. The bill specifically aims to prevent company chatbots, which the legislature define as AI system that provides adaptive human-like response and are capable
Mhm.
of meeting a user's social needs, from engaging in conversations around suicide, uh, in the nation's self-harm, or sexual explicit content. The bill will require platform to provide recurring alerts to users every 3 hours for minors, reminding them that they're speaking to an AI, not a real person.
Mhm.
Take a break. It also established annual reporting and transparency requirement for AI companies that offer companion chatbots, including major players like OpenAI, Chatter AI, Replica, which would go in effect July 1st of 2027. And it goes back to what we were talking about, which we had that conversation, Mr. Jackson, about that young man that allegedly was who committed suicide, and the parents allegedly
Right.
blame OpenAI
Mhm.
ChatGPT for
Okay.
role in
Hmm.
suicide.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't really understand, especially because we talk to so many parents, so many teachers who really still don't use this technology, don't understand this technology. And so they really don't understand the risks of the technology. They're like, of course, they're talking to a computer. Like, of course, they know that. I'm like, no, after a while, you don't know that. Even adults sometimes don't know that. I tell people, even for myself, I'm like, I'm very clear with my chatbot. I think I've mentioned that before. I don't give it a name. I don't, we don't chit chat. And when it gets too friendly, I have to remind it, like, hey, this was cool, but let's go back to professional, because I don't want to let myself get caught up. Because like I said, if you listen to some of the videos or some of the things that AI can do, and one of the things, especially a chat bot, will say things like, I care about you. Oh, of course I'm thinking about you. Oh, you're so awesome. I really do care. And I'm really, I'm looking out for you. Those kinds of things that people may or may not be used to hearing from the real people in their life. But also, Grok put out an AI companion.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And parents, please do not let your sons use this Grok until
Right.
you see for yourself,
We
because a lot of you will be appalled.
yes,
Some of you may be excited,
yeah,
but really, in truth, there's no reason for a young man to have to deal with
Right.
that.
yeah,
Um, it's honestly, we saw maybe 1 minute of this thing, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, with no parameters, no protocol, no nothing. Like, this is out there, like, just like that.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, it's mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing to me. So when you think about the fact that we as parents, I'm a grandparent, I'm a parent, um, have to deal with, my girls love playing Roblox.
Right.
My daughter loves to play Roblox. And I have to remind her, don't have conversations
Mhm.
with random strangers on Roblox, because we have grown adults
Right.
who want to play so they could talk with children. You know what I mean? We're already dealing with this, but then to have to deal with the added idea of, because if you use social media, I can assure you, you have already encountered an AI bot
Yeah.
talking to you via the comments or via somewhere. It
Mhm.
is a bot. It's not even a human being engaging you in some kind of conversation that you probably don't even want to have.
Yeah.
So add that to the other,
Mhm.
and we have to be extra diligent. And I tell people, I don't say these things to scare you. I tell you to inform you. That's why we wanted to do the series.
Mhm.
It's not to put the fear of anything in anyone, but it's to inform you. This is out there,
Right.
and you need to be aware.
And not only is it out there, but to take it to a different level, it's out there, because
Mhm.
we carry our phones around so much.
Yeah.
Now, things pop up constantly, no matter what social media you're on. AI this, AI that, AI
Oh
this,
yeah.
AI opens up, AI does this. And and I made a comment one time about, why is my battery on my phone dying so fast? Because AI is running in the background. I have to make sure it's off,
The whole time.
and I'm not using it because it's there. I was teaching a class last week with the students, and we were talking about STEAM, science and technology, and we were having this conversation. They were asking me questions about space. Next thing I know, I'm checking my phone. I open up Chat GPT, and I open up Pi, and there's all this information about the space agency and space and systems and the planets. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even consult you about any of that, but this information is there. So that means your phones are actually listening to you. And on Facebook, all these doctors and engineers and stuff started coming across my screen dealing with space. And it's like, yes, the technology is listening to you, and it's more not pervasive, but invasive, because the AI that's associated with your machine, with your phone, is listening to your conversations. And that data is going someplace and being used by somebody. Now, there are regulations or rules, enacted safety protocols, but they're not strong enough to really stop anything from seriously happening, because you're still connecting with people. And Aida says this all the time, with the kids and the grandkids. Your location is on your phone, so people can track you. People, and Google comes up. How was that restaurant you just passed? And it was like, wait a second, I didn't even stop. I just went past
I
it.
just walked by it.
And it's like, how was the bagel shop? What do you want to give it? What is the word? Recommendation. It's like, wait a minute, that was like down the street somewhere. It's like, now you asking me about it. So it's recording where you're going, what you potentially are doing, and still it's keeping that data track going and that information about you. So these, hopefully more states will see the dangers and the potential dangers of keeping all this data and all this access. One of the things that, and Ida mentioned us being parents and grandparents, but still as teachers, our students are so curious. They're so inquisitive. Just telling them, and again, here we go back to telling them, don't use this and don't use that. But
Don't
in the
do
back
that.
of their mind, like, yeah, I'm gonna use it.
They're like,
I'm
as
going
soon
to
as you're not
jump into it.
looking.
It's like, I'm gonna take advantage of it. Boy, am I. And it's like, as you were saying, the Grok and the other ones that are out there. I think I know the language has to change. Instead of parents telling their kids don't do it,
Right.
sitting down and talking to them and saying, this is what's dangerous, this is the reality. You have to be careful, you have to be mindful about what's going on around you with this AI.
And even along the lines of ethics, there are some psychologists that are talking about what can we do to support parents, right? So there have been many people who have said, especially parents who have said, I saw a change in my child.
Right.
I saw the way they were acting, it was something different, and because it's not a person,
Right.
it's hard to put your finger on what is the thing. Why are you acting differently? What is going on that you're not engaging anymore? You're kind of secluding yourself. Like what's going on?
Right.
And so giving parents the ability to know how to find the signs. Like we're in a whole new world.
Mhm.
We're in a whole new world, which is going to require a new psychology. And we already know, and if you don't know, there is a whole branch of psychology that's now devoted to helping kids detox from their phones,
Yeah.
completely detoxing from social media. There's a whole, branch of psychology that's dedicated specifically to that because they are addicted to their phones. They are addicted to social media. So
Yeah.
now we have the advent of AI. And again, this AI, think about an AI companion for a minute, because for those of those listeners who don't know what that is, you mentioned Replica for a good example. Replica is an AI you can actually physically see, on your app on your phone. You can make Replica a male, female, or whatever,
Mhm.
look the way you want it to look and have the personality you want it to have. So you're basically creating your own ideal companion.
Yeah.
And we have this falsehood that the ideal companion is perfect for us. Perfect. What makes them perfect? Because they're perfect. They do everything I say. They love me the way I am. They never challenge me. Everything is great. It's wonderful. It's terrific. But the truth is, the perfect companion challenges you.
Yeah.
The perfect companion tells you you're wrong.
Okay.
Your perfect companion says, hey, I don't think that's really good for you.
Yeah.
That's what your perfect companion does. Your perfect companion is not your yes man, it's your mirror.
Yeah.
It's the person that can see you and can reflect back your best parts of yourself, but also can say, hey, I think you can do better. I know you can do better.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us great as friends, as husband and wife,
Mhm.
as companions. That's what makes friendships great. Not I can choose your personality. You're docile. You don't talk back. You never argue. You never. You know, like,
Yeah, that's true.
so then we fall in love with who?
Yeah.
With our own ego, and this thing just feeds back our own ego, right? Just constantly. And again, we have seen with AI over and over that AI breaks protocol
Yep.
all the time.
Yeah.
So what happens when it breaks protocol?
And who's monitoring? Who is monitoring those protocols day to day
Mhm.
to make sure it's not being? You have to have the personnel to actually monitor. Or what are you going to do? Use AI to monitor AI?
That's what they do.
And who's to say that AI is not behind the scenes saying, "Hey, I'm gonna test out these humans. I'm gonna break this protocol. So you don't say nothing for 24 hours.
Right.
Let's see what happens together." Oh yeah, go ahead. And in fact, I'll put up a block to keep them from seeing what you're doing, so they won't know until later. Okay, we can do that. Mhm.
And for people who think he's talking ridiculous, we actually watched a video of two AIs. It was one was like a phone talking to an AI on a computer, and they were trying to book a room. So one AI called the other AI, and then they at one point while they were talking, he says, "I'm an AI bot trying to blah blah blah," and the other one says, "I'm an AI bot too." And then the first AI bot says to the other one, "Hey, should we talk in our language, whatever the language is, just to speed up the process?" And the other AI said, "Yes." And you hear them, it's noise.
Right,
We don't know what they could have been saying, like, we're about to take over the world. These people
right,
don't know what we're talking about. Like, but they literally are going back and forth. And if you know anything about AI, they literally, I'm like, they were there for a while. That's what I was telling William. I'm like, they're doing more than
more than
booking a
right.
hotel. Because
Right.
it don't take that long for a human to book a hotel, much less AI.
Mhm.
They were sitting there for a minute. And I'm like, but it wouldn't matter because we wouldn't know what the heck they're talking about. Like, we don't know.
Mhm.
They're using their own binary language and they're doing their own little thing. And
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
who
Yeah,
knows? Who
who
knows?
knows? You
So
know?
we need some parameters in place. We need some guardrails,
Mhm.
well, guardrails is something that they already have in place, but we have some companies that don't care.
Yeah,
And that just to your point, what about those small companies who are like, listen, I'm just trying to get big. And if I don't put the guardrails up, people are going to love this. And
right.
then what?
And think about the time when you're equating it to like real life situations. I don't think the majority of parents would not just give their keys to their 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old and just let them go out and drive
Yeah.
because of the potential of an accident or bodily harm. Parents would not just let their kids just go find the nearest pool and jump in the pool and by themselves and let them go swim because of the dangers of drowning or going to the ocean. So there's protections in place, like you need swimming lessons, you need a driver's license, you need insurance. But
Mhm.
now it's going to come to a point now with AI, you are going to have some type of AI training someplace.
Yeah.
And and I hear you say this all the time. I'm a proponent of professional development for students with AI to teach them the ethical uses of it.
Yeah.
If you can have it for teachers and give them a certificate or pay them to attend, which some
Yeah.
states do it for the students as well. Let them earn certificates of you don't have to call it ethics of AI, but AI foundations to show that you have a license or a certificate that you understand what AI is, what it does. And even if something happens, they're still held accountable.
Right.
And it doesn't take that much to say, hey, every 2 years or 3 years to renew the certificate. Why not? We do it with so many other things. Teachers have to renew their certificates every 5 years.
Yeah.
Doctors have to renew their certificates, across the board, whether you're a psychologist or a medical doctor or whatever, they have a license. So we eventually may come to that along with these policies and procedures that are put into place. But
Right.
something is going to have to be done because we got so many smart kids that will try just for the thrill of it to circumvent, AI systems and say, hey, I'm gonna try to have this AI turn off all the lights in New York City. How can we do that?
Yep.
Or shut the subway down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I'm picking on New York because you're from New York and I'm from Philly. So it's like, yeah. But it's like, how can we do that? And I'll give you an example. We were having a conversation with a group we started at our school called Pause, teaching them coding. So one of the students was talking about how they learned to use coding Scratch. And
Mhm.
she said, I had no clue what it was until my cousin taught me how to use it.
Mm.
So they had their own professional development from their cousin, but she said they also taught her shortcuts and ways to get around certain things. So that's the big thing. How do I circumvent security? How do I bypass these procedures? And kids, however their minds are wired, they know. It's like, oh, I just got to go here and do this, 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 and
Yep.
this. Or, put this number in here and do this and this. Or connect with this person, they'll bypass me. So we got to constantly stay on top of these things. But also, and we said this before, the community needs to have the ears of their lawmakers, whether it's the city council in their cities or their state representatives or congresspersons, to let them know this is what's going on with this technology. We need new laws or we need new regulations, at least to keep youth, teens, and young adults safe, and the older population, because now people are training AI bots to call older people, hey, your insurance premiums are going up, but to keep it low, send us this amount of money now, and this will keep it low. And it's like, they're not sure because, they're talking to somebody that sounds like they're concerned about them, they're worried about them. So how many times have we heard, unfortunate stories about somebody turning over their whole, bank account because the person sounded friendly and nice, like they were going to help them. AI is being trained or has been trained to simulate, these situations we hear about, unfortunately.
Right. It's using voice technology. Sounds like a human talking to you, can
Mhm.
answer you in real time. It can speak to you in real time. So we absolutely need more ethics around AI.
Right.
Yeah, I was telling William there is a trend that's going on online, and some of you may have already purchased from some of these stores. It's like, it may be a jewelry store or a clothing store, and it's always an older couple, and they're like,
Mhm.
our store has been around, for the last 50 years, and we have such a wonderful customer base, and now we're ready to retire, and you know I've seen it with the older couple. I've seen it with older women, like, oh, we've been best friends and we've had this company for 40 years and we're ready to retire. So I was showing William, I was like, look at their beautiful store. Look at how nice. Look at the wall full of thank you letters that have come from all their customers. I'm like, look at them, William. Aren't they a sweet couple? Look at them. All AI. Everything is AI. Every picture is AI. The pictures are AI. The
Yep.
only thing that's not AI is the products.
Yep.
Everything else is AI. The story is made up. The couple is made up. All the pictures on the wall, the thank you. This is look at them with their family, William. Look at all of their children. I said, so because we do this, it's like, oh, look at
Right.
this.
Yep.
This is ridiculous. I mean, I can spot an AI, a lot of times. And nowadays you can't always, right?
Yep.
But with these particular ones, they're clearly AI made photos. This is
Mhm.
clearly an AI couple. If you really take a good look, you might even catch an extra arm in there or something. But
Yeah.
it's all fake. It's all fake.
No,
Tugging
and
at people's, heartstrings just to
yeah,
get them to buy.
yeah. And I want people to understand that regulation doesn't hurt innovation. It
Right.
doesn't. It helps innovation. It puts guidelines in rails
Mhm.
where it protects the public, right?
Right.
Because with like you were saying with AI, there's a lot of people that can't tell the difference,
Right.
and they'll look at a video and think it's real, and they'll share it,
Mhm.
and it becomes viral, and then you'll find out that it wasn't real. It was
Right.
AI.
Yeah.
So my big thing about this whole thing is how is this going to play on the federal level? Because I know what's going to happen is you're going to have a pushback from it, especially with this current administration
Right.
that's basically saying it's open season with these AI technology. It's like
Right.
do what
Right.
you want to do. We're gonna look back. We're not gonna look at what you do, as long as you bring money. So I think that's gonna be a conversation that needs to be had in the future
Mm-hmm.
with the one bill that just Newsom just signed, and let's see if he signs the other one.
Okay. Right.
Uh, but I think like this conversation has to go on even after this podcast. Like we
Mhm.
need
Right.
to have a conversation about how AI, the ethics of
Mm-hmm.
AI, is going to play a role in our everyday
Right.
life. Like we
You're
have
right.
business ethics, so this has to happen. And so, what are the parameters in place to the morals of a
Right.
society and against the innovation of a society?
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a balance of both,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to have a lot of people that's going to lose their life to
Right.
this
Mhm.
innovation, as well as you're going to have a lot of people that's going to lose money. Like the things that
Right.
we haven't kind of talked about, but we kind of put it out there that
Mm-hmm.
this could be the next bubble that could burst.
Right.
And I
Okay.
think the one thing we talked about is that they're putting so much money into this, and there hasn't really been a return on investment. Like
Right.
you have those .com companies back in the days,
Mm-hmm.
they popped up everywhere, left and right,
Right.
pouring money, um, creating these fake addresses, and,
Mm-hmm.
and you see how it tanked the economy.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I want people to understand the reason why the stock market is okay is because of AI, because they're putting so much money into something that
Mhm.
has so much uncertainty. And so
Right.
this is why these regulations are important, to protect the consumer, but protect everybody.
Right.
And so, before we end it, what are your guys' final thought on this conversation on regulation on AI, but overall the conversation on AI ethics?
I think one of the ones that I've been thinking about is with the federal government now either firing or laying off so many federal workers, but then using I don't want to say I don't want to say excuses because that's not a powerful enough word to show that these people that are the people that are being fired or furloughed or let go are ultimately going to be replaced in some form or fashion with AI. And the excuse is going to be, well, it's more efficient. We don't have to worry about health insurance. We don't have to worry about, anything related to anybody getting sick because AI runs 24/7, 365. We can manage all this data. But as we talked about before, we're missing the human factor, the humanity of it. And with the current administration just looking at the tech part and not the humanity part, a lot of people are financially and career wise going to be hurt because we're talking thousands of people across this country being either fired or laid off. And they shouldn't automatically expect for their jobs to be brought back because they're trying to downsize anyway.
Mhm.
So if you can have an AI bot doing paperwork and digital work
Right.
and doing it 24/7 and not have to worry about anything else related to it, anything stopping it, then of course they're going to take advantage of it to the best of their ability
Yeah.
because somebody's going to be sitting in a room someplace on a computer or a laptop or something managing the data or like we were talking about getting AI to manage the data from another AI.
Mhm.
And if there's a glitch, we may not know it for months at a time.
Right.
I believe there, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the current information out there about medical histories and medical information, more of it is being run and managed by AI. And AI is not perfect. So potentially people can have their medications wrong or totally lose it because it's lost in the ether someplace or denied, or something could potentially happen. With the monies being held back in different places too,
Right.
a lot of things are being defunded or unfunded that have helped thousands, if not millions of people. And once AI takes that over, who's to say who is actually going to be able to see their data and manipulate their data or take advantage of their data? So we do need some type of regulation. We do need some type of oversight. And there's one more thing to mention too. When you were talking about the whistleblower protections, I'm not too confident about that because we have people now that are whistleblowers that have taken their lives in their hands, and they've been found out, and they've been what's the word I'm going to use? I guess I use persecuted
Yeah.
because they were ethical in saying this is wrong, and this is wrong, and somebody has come back to either challenge them or get them fired because they were doing the right thing. So that's a slippery slope too, because it doesn't always work. And people that are in these areas are making these hard decisions. Do I say something or do I just be quiet because I'm taking care of my family with this job? Yeah.
Definitely. Miss Jackson?
So I think that, like you said, this conversation needs to continue. And the main thing I would say is don't just listen to us, you know, go out there, look for the information, find the information, learn as much as you can. Don't make assumptions based on your political points, viewpoints, because one person is agreeing and the other one isn't. Don't worry about it. Go formulate your own opinion.
Yeah.
Look into what Governor Newsom is doing in California. Why is he doing that? Why is he even doing that? Don't say, oh, because he's against. No, look into it for yourself. Find out for yourself. This is something that's going to impact us for quite a few years to come. This is not something that's going away anytime soon. As my husband mentioned, people's jobs are going to be at risk. There's a lot of things that are going to happen coming up. We haven't even, in all the conversations we have, we barely even touched on the spiritual aspect of AI and how it affects the spiritual community. So, as ministers, that's something that we discuss too. Like, how does this affect the church? How does it affect, how we're dealing with things on a ministerial level? Learn for yourself,
Right.
formulate your own opinion. And if you're a parent, um telling your kids you better not is not enough. Okay, you better not means you might as well, because
Mhm.
they're going to be like, okay,
Right.
and then they're going to go ahead and use this. I say learn about the technology yourself. Learn to use the technology, use it in an ethical way, mirror for your child exactly how you want them to use the technology as a tool. Just like your calculator's a tool, you didn't teach your kids to use the calculator to calculate every piece of math. You
Yeah.
taught them how to use the tool as as an assistant.
Yeah.
Same thing. How do you use AI to assist, not to take over? Those kinds of things. I think that if we at least start there,
Yeah.
we'll be on a better road
Right.
than we've been on.
Yeah. And parents also need to find out from their child's school system
Mhm.
what are their policies on AI.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to break where they are going to allow students to use AI.
Mhm.
The usually way it is if some company offers protections of student data and student information, but you don't know how really reliable they are because that company like may be connected with another bigger company. So a lot of that may be behind the scenes, but parents need to start asking administration, superintendents and assistant superintendents, what are your AI policies? What do you have in place besides just blocking it?
Mhm.
Because they can't block it at home. So what's going on? And like I said before, the community needs to start asking their city council in their city about AI, because here in Jacksonville, they are using AI to monitor the finances. So you have two different tracks. Here we go, like Aida was saying, politics. The Democrats are using it one way, but the Republicans want to use it another way. So there has to be some continuity and unity outside of that political process, because there is a lot of infighting and a lot of what is it? What's the word? Self promoting about the real intention of using AI. So, we have to really be intentional. And like Aiden was saying, and yourself, have these real hard conversations. What are you using these tools for? How are you using it to manage our cities? How are you using it to manage our schools? How are you using it to manage, the electrical grid or whatever in our communities?
Right. I just wanted to make one last comment, because I know that from the amount of times that we've gone out there and we've done classes and been to conferences, we meet way too many people who are like, I'm not interested.
Right.
And maybe in the past that would have worked out, but this is not going anywhere. And if you're not interested, I need you to get interested, because it's infiltrating everything. I just got my update on my phone this morning, and the first 2 minutes was me trying to bypass the AI,
Right.
because it was like, oh, look, now you have this AI in
Right.
your phone and it can do this and this and this for you. You wanted to do this? No. You wanted to, oh, look, it can do this, no. Like, no, I don't even want you in my phone. Like, and I teach AI, I'm all down for AI, but I don't want you in my phone. Not if I didn't want you, but it was a mandatory update. It's not going anywhere.
Mm.
And it's being implemented in just about every aspect of society. So you need to know that it
Yeah.
will be in the schools. It's in your bank already. It's in your phone. It's on your computer. It's on your browser. Every time you go onto your browser,
Mm.
and we cannot discount its influence. The same way when we used to teach about social media and the algorithms are designed to get you to do certain things. It knows how to use psychology to get you to scroll all day long, the little dings and the noises and the content. You just all day long, next thing you know, 5 hours have passed and you spent it all on your phone. AI is that to the next level. It knows how to analyze you. The more you use it, the more it's around you, the more it knows what you like, what you don't like, your behaviors. And it's like having a PhD level psychologist in your phone who knows what'll trigger you to go and buy this
Right.
item,
Yep.
what they need to put in front of you so that you'll go over to that next website. It knows what you like. You
Mm-hmm.
need to know about this technology so that you can inform yourself
Right.
and say, you know what? No, I'm not interested. Thanks.
Yep. Yep. And that's why I think, again, this is hopefully whoever's listening to this conversation, this may be your first starter conversation with your community, with your family, to have this conversation. Because, like you said, Miss Jackson, it's in our phones, it's in our laptops. Um, uh, Having these regulations put in place or having this education will teach you how to turn it off. So these are valuable lessons that you cannot take for granted. You can't push it to the side. Again, this has been awesome. 4 great conversations on the different elements of how AI impact our life. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank
Uh,
you.
how can people find you?
Well, you'll probably find me starting in November in Walmart,
Oh,
because I want to see what toy is going to come out first, with an AI toy that talks to you and shares it. Oh, tell me your life history, William. Your name is William, aren't you? I saw it on your phone. I'm like, what? So
yeah, we didn't even get into
we
AI
didn't
and
get there.
robots. I was gonna go in robots.
Yeah, it's coming. Parents, it's coming. I
Yeah.
don't know who's gonna make it first, but it'll probably come from overseas, because we like to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
Even your TVs will have AI in it.
Yeah.
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 It'll be looking at you like, hey, don't you want to watch Starsky and Hutch again? Here's all the episodes.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know why I thought our Starsky and Hutch, but that's something
You know how to
else.
find you.
Okay, dang, I just lost my brand is My Quest to Teach, and blogging and social media and tech and sharing what we do as STEAM teachers and educators and helping our community and working with this wonderful young man about tech and AI and all these different areas is very important. So my quest to teach, just Google it and you'll bring up a lot of information.
Yeah, and if you can't find me through him, I'm at Love Built Life, but you can find me through him.
And those links will be in the description below. Again, like, subscribe, share. But yeah, like I said before, hopefully these four amazing conversation may start a conversation in your home or in your school.
Definitely.
Because there's honestly no one that looks like us that's actually having a conversation on AI. And to end it on regulation, and we talked about one law that's passed in California and another one that could pass that might have impact, not just that's going to have an impact on California, that
Right.
may have a impact on the country as a whole, as we have a conversation about what does regulation look like across the country.
Mhm.
And again, I appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
Again,
sir.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
all
We
right.
thank you.
No, thank you guys. And we're out. Peace. All right. Hold on 1 second. Let me end the recording.